Let's start off with your article. So according to your news story, you say there's a chance that we could see the first female CEO in the 100-year history of Disney. And this person, this woman, according to your article, she's kind of more cut from the same cloth as Bob Iger, has some of those same Hollywood sensibilities.
Yeah, I say it in the story. She's almost like the anti-Bob Chapek, who was the last CEO who lasted about 2 3/4 years. Chapek came up through Disney, spent 30 years at Disney, but was sort of a business guy at heart. He got his MBA. He was sort of in the weeds with how, pricing at the parks might affect attendance. And he had very few Hollywood ties. And in fact, the person he counted on for introductions to the Hollywood community was Dana Walden. And that's who the story is about. Dana Walden has been working at Fox, started working at Fox about 30 years ago, and really built that Fox studio into something from nothing. She spent about 25 years at Fox and then came over to Disney in 2019 when Disney acquired the majority of Fox's assets. So she is not a Disney lifer like Bob Chapek.
Yeah. So not a Disney lifer, but she's one of 4 internal candidates that are being eyed as possible successors for Iger. So again, Walden's one of them. Another one's Jimmy Pitaro, who runs ESPN. So you just mentioned Walden's not necessarily so businessy. That was kind of Bob Chapek's bag. But Pitaro has a lot of those business sensibilities, has P&L responsibilities and things like that. Give me a sense of the internal candidates, including Pitaro. Who else is kind of seen as the front runner?
So I think it depends on who you ask at Disney who the front runner is. I think people in the parks division think maybe it's Josh D'Amaro, who runs parks. Other people at Disney think it's very unlikely that Bob Iger would go back to someone who led parks after Bob Chapek, because that didn't work out well. And maybe they'd want more of a creative leader. And that's what led me to write the profile today on Dana Walden. She also has a co-chair of entertainment whose name is Alan Bergman. He's also in the running, I would say. And then you mentioned Jimmy Pitaro, and perhaps Bob Iger would go in that direction if he's looking for someone internally that has a lot of experience already running a big media entity like ESPN is.
All right, so we already covered some of the internal candidates. What about outside candidates, maybe even board members? Are any of those a possibility to succeed Bob Iger?
I mean, now it gets murkier, right? Because, look, it's possible anybody is a candidate. And in fact, if Nelson Peltz gets on the board, I would say that goes to even a larger spectrum, because Peltz is really running on a campaign that I am a headhunter. I know what I'm doing. And the Disney board, you don't know what you're doing when it comes to succession. And the evidence is not only was Chapek sort of a disaster, but Bob Iger has pushed back his retirement 5 different times, and there's no clear successor. So that's really his strongest argument for Disney investors to say, you know what, put me on the board, and I'll make sure this thing gets done correctly. And we'll look at a bunch of outside candidates, maybe candidates you've never even considered before. The drawback, I would say, is that the Disney culture is thick. And I do think it's hard to bring an outsider in and sort of steer this company in a different direction without irritating a lot of the people that are already there today.